Okay, so I want to give you my first impressions of Spider-Man on PC. So we just launched the game. So first impressions, I see a little bit of color banding here, but we are not inside the game yet. So I already set up the settings just to not use that time. But I'm gonna give you my impression about the first impression about this is basically this is the same settings screen that you get on Shadow of the Tomb Raider and and Race of the Tomb Raider, because this is Nixios, it's the same developer. So that is something good. I mean, I like those ports for PC, but the HDR is not perfect. On Shadow of the Tomb Raider, the HDR is good but not perfect. But one thing I'm liking more about this HDR slider, and I mean the reason I say it's not perfect is because you don't have proper sliders. You only have the max luminance. Why don't you give me the paper white option? So I want to set up the mid tones and the high and the max luminance. So and I don't get that option here. So I don't know why. That's so simple. Why is that so difficult? But let's hope it is good. But one thing I do like about this HDR setting here, it has precision. So you can set this up to 785. It doesn't have to be 700, 800. So I like that. So for the settings on PC, I mean we have everything. We have DLSS. We have this new deep learning anti-aliasing that is supposed to be to upscale the resolution even more. I'm gonna try that later, but I'm going to start with DLSS quality, and I'm also excited to see dynamic resolution scaling. That is perfect for black frame insertion because you want to have a perfectly flat frame rate to use black frame insertion. So this dynamic resolution scaling is going to allow you to get that performance. So, and it looks like it's going to work in conjunction with DLSS, which is fantastic. So I'm going to leave it off for now just to see what is the real performance with DLSS quality at 4K and max out settings. So for the graphic settings here on PC, I'm going to just max out everything and turn off the usual stuff. So I'm gonna turn off depth of field, which it might be beneficial for cutscenes. It might look good, but I'm going to start with that off just to see just to see everything on the distance, because sometimes that just blurs things on the distance. So I like to turn off always chromatic aberration. I've never seen that particularly interesting, and it just causes a chromatic aberration that I'm not a fan of. I also of course turn off motion blur. Zero. Why it is still including motion blur? It's just maybe for 30 frames, especially on these OLED TVs. 30 frames look horrendous because the pixel response is so fast that it looks super shaky. So maybe motion blur it helps a lot in those cases. So we have everything else maxed out. So the ambient occlusion, we have HBO Max, which should be better. So I had that on SSAO. We have the hair, give me that hair, and high. So this engine, I don't know if they're using a different engine because it's Insomniac's engine. But on Shadow of the Tomb Raider, the hair especially was very good. Race of the Tomb Raider hair was a little bit better for Lara. It was a downgrade, but it was still good. So yeah, we have everything else maxed out. So let's fire up the game and see how it looks. And also, I am excited to get support for the DualSense on PC, which is, I think, Far Cry 6 was the first game I experienced with real, haptic feedback and the adaptive triggers, which is amazing. So let me show you the settings for the TV while the game is loading. To see Nixus, this is the one that ported the game. So I have the volume off because, copyright music with this Spider-Man. So it's looking not as sharp as I was expecting. Let me show you the settings on the TV. So we need to have HDIG. You see the difference? It's visible, those clouds and those highlights with HDIG, they just alive. So HDIG is the way to go here. So let me show you the colors are on auto detect. We are on HDR, auto detect 55, warm 50. And that's it. That should be the settings for every single game. We shouldn't have to, have a different settings for every game. It should all be the same. So just to double check. Okay. So yeah, we already set up the settings. Just hit continue. It's not working. I'm hitting continue. Okay, we just hope that the game works with the controller. And I just have the performance here, just to see. Whoa, this is very CPU heavy. Oh no, I'm not gonna be able to get black frame insertion at 120 because it's being CPU limited in some. So when you look at the distance, it's gonna be CPU limited. Even in this shot, that's crazy. Why? There's nothing going on here. Why is it CPU limited? Is it loading the shaders or something? Good thing is I don't see any stutters yet. But the CPU is only using one core, and is bottleneck. It's just using one core. Everything else is not being used, just one core, and I am not getting the GPU to be at 100% utilization. That's terrible. So let's hope that is because ray tracing does require CPU usage. Also, we are going to probably be GPU bound on the city because it's gonna be more demanding. But still, I was not expecting to be CPU bound. But wow, the game looks fantastic. Wow, the sharpness of the image is just perfect. There's no aliasing that I can see here. It's a solid texture, so I don't see any flickering. But the HDR first impressions, I would like to have less overall brightness. This is too bright. So, oh, I'm loving this. I'm getting the sound on the DualSense for the first time. I'm getting sound on this microphone, and I'm getting some pressure on the trigger, which is awesome. So I like this a lot for the controller, but I am not liking the overall brightness of the image. That's why I was saying that on the HDR calibration screen, you have to give me that paper white option so I can adjust the overall image of the overall brightness of the image. Yes, and it is looking good. It's looking sharp, but I don't want to say the black levels are raised, but this is too bright. It's bright everywhere. I am not impressed. trees are not looking spectacular. It is looking a little bit washed out. The colors are a little bit washed out. And for some reason, the triggers are working, but the jump button is not working. See? So everything else is working. The camera is working, the triggers are working, but I need to jump here. Also on the menu, I was trying to press this and it was not working. I don't know why. I have to figure that out and tell you. So I'm gonna do a follow-up video. But first impressions, not liking it really. Not liking it. That first shot on the apartment was looking very good and sharp, but this is looking blurry. It's not that much blurry as the colors are washed out. It's too bright everywhere. The colors are washed out. Not liking this. Man, it is not good. The sun, I see color banding close to the sun. I see color banding, the colors are washed out, the overall brightness of the image is too bright. I want to like it, okay? I want to love it. I don't want to just, talk bad about the game. Man, but I'm disappointed. You see the CPU usage? This is a 5800X3D, okay? The CPU is a 5800X3D. I have 32 gigabytes of RAM, 3600 CL16, okay? And a 3080 12 gigabytes. I am using 4K DLSS and 56 frames, and the CPU is also, I'm also getting CPU bound, and the game is only using one core. Like, it's using one core. So if you are CPU bound and you are using only one core, that's not good. That's bad. That's not good. This is looking washed out, man. It's looking washed out. That's washed out. There's no depth on that image there. Man, this is so sad. And the controller is not working. It's not working. So terrible. That's not good, man. I want to be excited. I want to tell you, man, this is amazing, awesome. It's not. I have to be honest. This is not awesome. It is not. The HDR is not looking good. The colors are washed out. The performance is bad. 4K DLSS below 60 is unacceptable. I don't care how much ray tracing you have. I don't see any ray tracing right now. Here I don't see any ray tracing. Of course, you go to a window, you can see the reflections behind you, and it is awesome. I can see all the characters and stuff. That's good. It is lower frame rate than the reflections is lower frame rate than the real. It's probably like 30 frames. So yeah, first impressions terrible, to be honest. So let's figure it out. Let's see if I can make this better. I'm gonna do a follow-up video. See if I can fix the controller. It's not working. It's only working the triggers, but the jump button's not working. So maybe I have to set it up on the menu. Man, I don't know how they can get these things wrong, man. Okay, well, I'm gonna do a follow-up video.